Hey everyone, it's Bob Crossan. I'm the editorial director for the Endeavor Business Media Water Group, as well as the editor-in-chief of Wastewater Digest. I'm here with Scott Werner. He is business development manager for Aerzen Rental. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you guys have been in business for 5 years with Aerzen Rental now. What are some of the learnings that you can share with us about your experience in the industry?
Yeah, so over 5 years, we've definitely learned quite a bit about the rental industry and low pressure equipment within the rental industry. I'd say top of all of that is probably the lessons we've learned about having the value that's provided in contingency planning, and really having a contingency plan and allowing you to kind of strike a balance between the speed of delivery for equipment and also evaluating the total cost of that equipment over a rental project.
Yeah, so when you're talking about contingency planning, can you kind of break that down a little bit further to give us a little idea of what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about a contingency plan, it's pretty much exactly what that is. So it's having a plan in place, and in our case, we're specifically talking about low pressure air, for your wastewater aeration tanks. And so having a plan in place from the time that equipment is needed to getting it on site and how you're going to do that. All those things you want to evaluate in a plan beforehand so that when the time actually comes, you're ready to make moves and get equipment there.
Yeah, so you mentioned there's a couple considerations really to make when it comes to a contingency plan, and you highlighted a couple of those. Are there more things that people really should be considering when they're looking at their contingency plans to make sure that they're operating appropriately?
Yeah, I think there's really three things that really boil down to a good contingency plan. One of those is evaluating the right supplier, the supplier having the right type of equipment that you need, and we can dive into that a little bit more. The next thing is really evaluating the total cost of that plan and understanding the impact of those costs. And finally, it really comes down to, is that supplier capable of delivering the equipment when they say they can, with the right equipment in the timely manner that you need it on site.
Yeah, so right supplier, total cost, and then reliability. That's
exactly kind of what it breaks down to. Exactly.
Yeah, so could you explain a little bit more detail what you mean by each of those? Like, what are the considerations people should be thinking about?
Yeah, no, it's a good thing to talk about. So within the industry, and especially the specialty rental industry as a whole, there's a variety of different air equipment out there. And one of the challenges is if you're a plant, evaluating those different types of equipment out there and making sure that it's the right equipment for the right application. So in our case, when we talk about wastewater aeration, we're talking about low pressure blowers. Low pressure blowers is very different than some of the other air equipment out in the general and especially rental industry. And if you go to the wrong supplier, you're going to get the wrong equipment, which can have a significant impact on the total cost of rental over the duration of the period that you have that equipment on site. And so that's
on the part of total cost there you're talking about, I would think that people think that that's probably comparable from supplier to supplier, but that's not necessarily the case, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And because there's different types of equipment out there, and I'll give you kind of an example. What you'll really find in the majority of the rental industry is what we call plant air compressors that are capable of compressing air up to 100 pounds. And when they're applied in the wastewater industry, it's a lot of wasted energy. In a wastewater plant, you're going to have a blower and you're going to have the installed electrical service to supply that blower, which is not necessarily capable of supplying the power to a plant air compressor. So when you bring those machines on site, if that's a contingency plan that you execute on, you're not going to have the electrical infrastructure. You're going to end up having to bring in diesel compressors or diesel generators, and the cost of that equipment and the energy spend from diesel fuel when compared to an electric drive option can be as much as 10 times in the total cost of that ownership or that rental period.
Yeah, so do you have specific examples of these types of contingency plans you could speak to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a really good example from actually this past summer. We were working with a plant in the Northeast region of the U.S. Had pretpretty significant issues with their installed blowers. We're waiting for a capital project to kick off to replace them. And they became almost too expensive to operate, to the point that they brought us on site and we walked through and did a contingency plan. We overlaid equipment layout onto Google Earth, came up with a really good plan. We put it together in a proposal to them and said, hey, put this in your binder, and the day comes that you ever need it, give us a call and we'll be ready to execute. And that came. It came on a Saturday. We got the phone call. We put equipment on a truck that same day and delivered, I believe, Monday the following week. They installed everything, and that equipment's been on site operating. And the feedback from the plant is actually that the cost of renting the equipment right now is less than the maintenance and the repairs that they were having to do on their equipment. So they're currently in the process of looking to replace the existing equipment, but for now, the contingency plan really worked out well for them.
Yeah. So what about, like, in the event of certain failures and things, like whether it's a diffuser or whatever, what about considerations when it comes to that?
Yeah, that's another good thing. So, going back to your original question, some of the things we've learned, one of the things that we've learned is it's not always about the blower when customers and plants have wastewater aeration issues. A lot of the times it's the diffuser system itself. And so one of the things that we've decided to add here very recently is some portable aeration grids. And so those will be designed to drop into a tank full of water with equipment already on the bottom. We'll inventory all the hoses and discharge manifolds, all the equipment to really take that project from cradle to grave, from getting it on site to getting grids in the water and air into those grids. So,
yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations on 5 years as Aerzen Rental. It sounds like it's been great for you guys.
It's gone by fast.
Yeah. Well, where can people learn more?
Yep.
Where can people learn more?
So they can certainly go to our website, www.aerzenrental.com. Of course, they can go to the Aerzen website as well, and always feel free to reach out for contact info.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Scott. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.